Keys to the Shop, episode 163, Lessons from Crush the Rush with Josh Littlefield. Well, hey everybody, and welcome to another episode of Keys to the Shop, where we give you insights, inspiration, and the tools you need to grow as a coffee service professional. My name is Chris DiFirio. I'm your host for the show. Thank you so much for joining me today as we talk about the Crush the Rush competition from Marzocco. And we're going to be talking with the events coordinator, Josh Littlefield, all about that competition and some lessons that we can learn through this competition that will benefit our shops. So definitely some great stuff in here. Really a pleasure to have Josh on the show. Now, if you have not yet subscribed to Keys to the Shop, I would encourage you, please do so by just hitting subscribe wherever you happen to be listening to your podcasts. And also, if you have the opportunity to rate or review this show on iTunes, that would be amazing as well. Thank you so much. Now, this episode is brought to you by the wonderful people over at Prima Coffee. Prima Coffee is a leading specialty coffee equipment supplier. They curate the best equipment from around the world to fit perfectly with the needs of both their enthusiast and professional customers. So it could be a home bar that you're looking to outfit or your commercial coffee bar. You might want to expand your store to 2 stores or 3 stores, and you need the right equipment to make it all work. Prima Coffee is the place to go for this. They can really help you get the right gear to fit any situation. I would encourage you, go to prima-coffee.com and see what I mean. Take a look at all they have to offer. They have amazing resources on the website also to help you get familiar with the equipment and get off on the right foot using it the right way. They're just really passionate and knowledgeable, and it's a great group of people. I've known them since the beginning of their company. I definitely vouch for them. So again, go to prima-coffee.com. Let them know that Keys to the Shop sent you. Thank you so much, Prima, for your support of Keys to the Shop. This episode is also brought to you by the Great Pacific Barista Series. This is the line of plant-based performance beverages that are designed specifically for and also designed right alongside of professional baristas, because when you're a professional barista, you have high standards of excellence for what you do and what you serve, and that's why Pacific leans heavily on the input of professional baristas in the development of the Barista Series. You could be using almond, soy, coconut, rice, or oat milk, and the product's ability to take the heat from the steaming process, produce really smooth latte art ready texture, and keep the flavor balance of the beverage focused on coffee. All of this and more makes it a perfect choice to include in your menu. Pacific is a huge supporter of the specialty coffee community and the barista community. And, obviously products like this are a testimony to that fact. So definitely go to pacificfoods.com to learn more about the Barista Series and get this in your store. Try it out for yourself and see what the Barista Series can do to help elevate the non-dairy offerings in your shop. Thank you so much, Pacific, for making these products and for supporting this show. All right, so today we're talking with Josh Littlefield, who is the events manager for Marzocco USA. And he's been in coffee for a long time. He's been in coffee for 8 years and has occupied numerous roles, pretty much all the coffee roles. And he also has a background in fine dining, fire and EMS, construction, and New York City immersive theater production. Basically just a Renaissance man. Now, on top of all of the travel and events that Josh is in charge of, one of the most popular things going right now is the Crush the Rush competition. This debuted in 2018, the summer of 2018, and they're getting ready to go back on the road again this summer. In fact, about a week after this episode airs, or less, I think. But we get to talk with Josh about Crush the Rush, which is a competition that's really based on what baristas do on a daily basis, just under a lot more pressure. You're going to hear all about how that came to fruition, what the details are about the competition, some stories And also, we're going to talk about some lessons that we can learn as demonstrated by the teams that are successful and not successful in this competition. What can we learn about workflow? What can we learn about keeping a cool head under pressure? What do the best teams do to win? What are the common traits? And what are the biggest mistakes that people make? And how does this translate to our own coffee bars? These are all things that we get to cover in this conversation with Josh. So let's get right to it. I'm excited to present this conversation, diving into some lessons from the Crush the Rush competition with Josh Littlefield. Well, hello, Josh. Welcome to Keys to the Shop. Excited to be talking with you.
Hey, Chris. Yeah, stoked to be on. Thanks for having me.
I knew that I wanted to have you on as soon as I saw this competition launch, first launch, and we're finally getting around to it. Reached out to you when I saw the launch of the second season, if you will, or the new tour of Crush the Rush. I'm so excited about this competition and what it does for the industry, and excited to sort of dive into it and get some pointers that you've seen from the competition. But I want to start sort of with who you are and how you eventually came to be with La Marzocco, and how this competition has sort of evolved into something that you're taking on the road.
Oh, totally. I guess the quick little breakdown of how did you get here? I've been in coffee for a long time. I think going on like 7-8 years now. I transferred over from food service, so went to school thinking I would like maybe one day own a restaurant, totally be on Food Network, whatever. And then like during college, kind of realized like, okay, kitchen life, I don't know if I want to do this forever. Just long hours. It's super rewarding, so much fun, but it just like destroys your body and not super sustainable. And then through a roommate, I fell into coffee. Took off for a little time, went to New York City, worked for Joe NYC, who they hired me as an intern. They're like, I don't know why you want to be an intern, but go ahead, knock yourself out. So they were kind enough to train me as a barista really fast. And then after that experience, I'm like, the people are amazing. Just like where the industry is going, of what it does for communities. And like, it was just so inspiring that I'm like, yeah, I want to stay and do this forever. And then from there, kind of like dabbled in all the things. I was wholesale for a long time. I did barista training, did some build outs, and then also like keeping kitchen stuff. I was a production manager for a dinner club in New York City that did large scale events in weird spaces. So basically we would like take over the top floor of a vacant building and throw a giant dinner party where like your servers would be jugglers or like an a cappella group or something. And that's where like I really got into event management and dealing with kind of the unexpected, and kind of like taking from that kitchen experience, and also like I like very like high pressure situations and dealing with them. Just kind of like found events as like, okay, I can deal with this and seem to be okay at it. And then that's where I got connected with Scott Callender from La Marzocco, and they were like, we're looking for an event person to kind of do this full time. Any interest on coming on board? I'm like, yeah, Seattle sounds cool, a little damp, but I'd be game to move out there and give it a shot. It's been a blast for the last year and a half, a little plus.
So you discovered that events is somewhat of a superpower for you, that you have the capacity to do it, and your role at La Marzocco now obviously is events. So beyond Crush the Rush, you're doing a lot of other things. So, and just describe a little bit about what you do at La Marzocco.
Sure. So besides Crush the Rush, we're on the road pretty much at least a couple times a month, everything from all the SCA trade shows to New York LA Coffee Fest to supporting throwdowns. And like if our like larger partners are throwing a party in their region, we try and send resources, send ourselves. And then, it's kind of like it's a smaller team we have, and La Marzocco has always been a pretty scrappy bunch. So a lot of the stuff we do is built internally. Like my job is so much fun that I get to like actually fabricate and build a bunch of these like sets or carts. I handle like inbound, outbound logistics, and usually I'm like set it up, send it out, go on site, make it happen, send it back, clean it all out. And that's kind of my day to day.
And I know from your resume that you have construction background.
Yeah, yep. And that's all just kind of self-taught. New York, like, we got to open a shop. Let's get it done. Let's figure out how to do it.
Nice.
Yeah, it's a blast.
So it's all being put to use in this competition, and
exactly.
use all those skills. How did this competition form? Where did the idea come from, and what is the goal of Crush the Rush?
Yeah, kind of like when I first came on in November, December, we had the idea of like, okay, summer 2018, La Marzocco, we want to hold a competition that's different than anything we've seen before. Something that like really highlights baristas' day-to-day skills. And I mean, like, the shops where our machines really shine are high volume, busy cafes. And we're like, okay, what can we do to reward our folks that use our stuff, but kind of like crush it every single day? And what's something really approachable, relatable, where you don't have to buy a super expensive coffee, you don't have to come up with a long routine in a weird, awkward situation. It's just like, do what you do and do it really well. And then if you do that, you will win. And then basically that's kind of how Crush the Rush came up, of trying to make something as relatable as we could.
That makes a lot of sense. That's sort of the, I don't want to say complaint about competitions in the industry, but there is always in the back of a competitor's mind sort of the gap between the performance that we see and the reality back in the shop. And so that's what I think makes this so magical, is that exactly like you said, you do what you do best, do it here, and you can win this competition. And so describe the format of Crush the Rush for people.
Yeah, in its most basic sense, you are given a line of 8 randomized drinks, a drink that you would normally get at most cafes in America. You have a team of 3 baristas. Kind of how we kind of think about it is you have your shop person, you have someone double barring, steaming milk, and then your quote unquote like register person, who is your register / runner. And you need to kind of make a plan with your team before the clock starts, of like, okay, how can we efficiently make all these drinks as fast as possible and in the order they're done. We call time, we say go. And then basically you just have to deliver each drink to a panel of judges. They are assessed on 3 major parameters. It needs to be full to the top. It needs to look good, and like crema needs to be there. Some form of latte art. It doesn't have to be like a triple upside down swan. Don't care. Just the milk quality has to be good. And it has to be free of any drips, spills, or imperfections on the vessel. And then if you basically do that as fast as you can, and whichever team does it fastest wins. But then we throw a bunch of wrenches in there to make it more real world like and equally ridiculous.
What would those be?
I don't want to give away this year yet, but last year was in the middle of your bar shift, a milk delivery decided to show up. So someone has to stop what they're doing, fill a mini fridge full of, I think it was 14 cartons of milk, and then close it. And then the other side challenge was, oh, your bar back. Birthday was last night, but he seems to have gotten a cold and has called out. So there are cups all over the stage, and you need to bus all of the cups in the cafe, put your milk away. And then so here's some really good ones for this year of like, oh God, it's way too close to home.
I look forward to hearing what those are. So what are the drinks that people have to make? You said 8 drinks. What are those?
They are, let's see what's on there. An espresso, macchiato, cortado, cappuccino, cap to go, and latte. And then through that 8, it's randomized. You could have like 2 caps next to each other, an espresso, 2 lattes, kind of all over.
That's excellent. So, you know what I love about this is that what you just described is something that you can do anytime. Well, you do it all the time on your own bar, but in a sort of a drill format with your baristas, you could organize a team of your own baristas and do your own kind of version of this anytime.
Yeah, and like last year we had, by like the halfway point, we had people sending us videos of them practicing. And we're like, oh my God, people are super serious about this and having like a bunch of fun and laughs doing it. And one of the shifts from this year is we have qualifiers. So last year, only 8 teams could go. And we were kind of bummed about that. We wish we could have made space for more just because so many people wanted to. This year, during the day, there's what's called qualifiers. So basically, we're sending out a standardized drink line that everyone knows about. It's like, you have a latte, cappuccino, macchiato, whatever. You will come to the stage. There's no side work. It's just, okay, your team does this as fast as they can. We have 20 teams go through the day. And then the teams with the top 8 times are the ones that actually get to compete in the evening competition.
Excellent. When we talk about the goals of the competition, I know you mentioned rewarding the barista for the work that they do on a normal, day-to-day basis. The impact of the competition on coffee in general, what kind of things were you hoping for in terms of how it would affect shops and what happens in shops? And what kind of things have you seen? Was that realized in the first tour?
I think the first one was kind of like getting people on there, of making it so I don't care who you are, what you look like, where you're coming from, and this is like totally level playing field. Anyone can compete, and then competing, like creating something that's really about like focus and skill, but also a bunch of fun. I think it was kind of like an eye-opening thing of seeing other shops, like the smaller shops going against like the longer established or even the veteran baristas, the ones with like 5 to 8 years plus experience. I think just like the way they move and the way their communication and kind of the way they approach double barring. I just like the younger baristas just haven't experienced yet. It's like, wow, they're efficient of their milk steaming, how they prep their shots, how they prep their station, and how fast they can be. I think of just observing that is something that they can take back to their home shops and just like mess around with on a busy Saturday.
Right. So just being able to use what you observe and the pressure that you're under to sharpen your skills for what you normally do back home. The competition seems to do that no matter what. Under pressure, you're going to have a little bit higher level of tolerance for the normal day-to-day pressure, because Crush to Rush is not exactly the same kind of pressure that you experience in the shop. It seems like you would want it to be a little bit higher pressure.
Exactly. Yeah. There's more at stake. Like
Mm-hmm.
lots of big prizes and bragging rights stuff.
Yeah. When you're looking at teams coming in, obviously they know what they're doing. They're baristas. They know their own bars. It's an unfamiliar bar, and there's got to be some mistakes that people make that really are they're not egregious necessarily, but I don't know. Maybe they are, but. What are some of the major mistakes that you see teams make under pressure? Then you can think, oh, I know they're a good barista, but why did they just do that?
Oh yeah, like I'd say some of the teams that really kind of botched it were like the milk steaming person. Everyone, like, they're perfect. They're great at latte art. They're really awesome. But then they get to the table and they spill something, and that judge hits the red button and it says remake. It's when they need to communicate back to the shot puller of like, hey, I need another cappuccino, or like, hey, you need to redo that shot. Is just that communication is where so many good teams kind of crumble. So really it's just knowing your teammates, being super clear under pressure of what you need from each other. And just teaming up. It's like, I have these shots working. I'm pulling this shot on this side for you. Take it as soon as it's ready. You can go ahead and pull that, or go ahead and start your milk. I think that's the biggest thing. Communication.
Wow. Who would have thought that communication?
I know, weird, right?
So do you ever see people?
Yeah.
When you talk to people, it's common for a bar to have an unspoken form of communication where you all kind of know what's going on. But sometimes it can be, you can trust a little bit too much in that system. It's just a safeguard to talk about things, to make sure to check, so chefs say yes chef or heard, or make sure that people have eye contact when they speak, little things like that, so that you don't mess something up. Because then if you have to go back and remake it, like you just said, that's going to, I imagine if that's me with a latte that I'm proud of and I messed it up, not only have I got the shame of spilling this, but now
you lost this for us. Yeah, exactly.
I've got to go back and figure out how to fit this back into the queue somehow. Do you ever see people recover well? Like, what do you do to recover well from that?
Oh yeah, a couple teams have come back at the last minute of like, I think, where was it? I think maybe Kansas City, where both teams on the last drink both spilled it. And it was like almost photo finish, and they just had to run back, communicate like, I need this now, I need this right now. And then I think it came down to someone pouring milk at the table and walking their drink up, and the other person and like walking up with their pitcher, pouring as they were walking. So like taking the gamble and dice roll, but then nailing it, putting it down, and then winning the whole competition.
Wow.
There were so many of those super stressful like photo finish points that like gave me heart attacks, but I like over and over again. But were so much fun.
What are some other common things that you've seen from teams that pull out in front during this competition? What are the character traits beyond communication? What do they possess that we can learn from and apply in our shops?
I think a big one for disciplines is teams that are calm, collected. I think the Navy SEAL saying of like smooth is slow, slow is fast, of not just like turning the whole station into this crazy mess. It's just like intentional movements, thinking about what you're doing as you're doing those movements, communicating with your partner of like, this is what I'm doing. So everyone's very spatially aware of what's going on. Just keeping track of your movements of, I think that's just fast bar flow techniques of just every motion is intentional and cutting down the ones that are not necessary. Do you need to spin your tamper 3 times? Do you need to wipe out the portafilter 4 times with the rag? Probably not. You can save a second here, there, but I mean, this competition, people win by half second during your busy bar day. That second times 100 is 10 minutes a day saved just by doing little tiny things. And then I think like the major thing is definitely cleanliness, which is rewarded only by judges on the cup. But even though it's not like a scoreable item on the bar, it's very clear of some teams where coffee is literally everywhere. And then if something messes up, they need to like spend time cleaning up their station, getting to their materials, just because their station, their rags, everything has fallen apart. Just to try and really remake or make their drinks happen.
That's a tough thing to embrace, especially when it's a little bit cruel of you, Josh, because
I am pretty dark.
Yeah, because this whole competition is like makes you want to clench your fists and crush the rush and get like aggro barista. No. And you're saying like the best teams under this pressure that's manufactured are the ones who are fluid, who are calm, who almost have this serenity that doesn't let that outside pressure affect them. It does, but it's like this. It's a certain type of urgency that doesn't say, "Oh, chaos is what I need."
Definitely not saying like just take your time, but. No, it's just you need to think about every single move you're doing and make sure that it has like a positive reaction.
Well, I'm glad you brought up cleanliness too. And we've said on the show before that, you can take about like 2 or 3 seconds to clean around you for every drink you make just as a habit. This is something competitors do all the time at the SCA competitions. And it makes it so that you can be a little bit more clear. Chefs do it, if you're in the weeds, you just clean your station a little bit, get the mise en place. I'm sure you were like trained in that.
Oh, I've been screamed at so many times and hit with plates of you need to clean your station right now.
Wow.
Though I think one of the best nuggets of advice, like in coffee, was I was like, I was a trainer, I was talking to other trainers, and then our buddy Jamie Lau would go get him. Like, I'm like, okay, how do you like keep your station clean and tell people how to clean stuff? And she's like, no, there's no reason to make a mess in the first place. Mm-hmm. If you are, what are you doing? I'm like, that's very true. I can.
Yep. That makes sense.
Sounds impossible, but if you really keep track of things, you can do it.
Yeah, if your approach is thorough, it's the same as deep cleaning tasks. If you've got a bunch of deep cleaning tasks on a separate sheet, so maybe just because the regular cleaning tasks aren't really thorough enough.
Mm-hmm.
So the competition is going to be taking place this summer with some new additions to it. You mentioned the added challenges that are super secret. We can only let our dark imaginations flow with that. But what else is being added to the competition? We were talking about some pretty exciting stuff that people can benefit from.
Yeah, so with that qualifiers, basically we're having those 20 teams go throughout the day at 10-minute or 30-minute blocks from 9 to 3 o'clock. And we want to find something to like do with these people. Either they can go and then go back to work if they need to and then come to the competition later. But if they decide to take the day off, like we really want to supply something for them that they can leave with. So we're going to have a day of basically full programming. 3 or 4 lectures in each city, depending. It's really city dependent. What we're trying to get for each one is a panel discussion. A lot of them, or at least the ones we have lined up, are getting shops open in your city and like how people have done it regarding of like, hey, this is how I build out cafes in small spaces efficiently. We'll have someone on there that can talk about, hey, this is how I've dealt with the Department of Building or the health department, what steps it takes to really make that process a little easier. Another section, we're trying to find occupational therapists in each stop. If you know any, email me. We have some lined up, but it's really barista injuries, what you're doing every day, what you could do to help protect yourself or help if you've already damaged muscles or tendons or anything that makes working hard for you. And then we have a smaller component of intro to like machine technicians, where it's not like a full tech course, but it's kind of like the hood's open on the car for all our machines. This is the water pathway. This is electrical. This is what these things do. Please don't stick a screwdriver in and try and rip it out. It's just like, this is what the thing does. That's why it exists. The shiny thing. And then like each city is different. Seattle, we have a Costa Rican Cup of Excellence cupping coming up, which we're really excited about, depending on what our hosts can supply us with or team up with. It's kind of still open for discussion, so stay tuned.
Wow. So it's a whole event. It's really just a show in and of itself.
Oh, God, yeah. Yep. Yeah. We decided more and more.
It's right up your alley as an events person.
We love it.
You know, as we're talking, I feel like more and more this is something that, first of all, people should make their staff aware of and have their staff, form teams, participate in this as it comes to a city near them, for sure. And we can learn a lot from what you've discussed already in your experiences watching this take place. But again, coming back to the idea of doing something like this for your own baristas and having yourself be so experienced in coordinating events, what are some of the things that really help you keep it all together? Not just yourself, obviously that's important, keeping yourself together, but coordinating all of this. Owners like to put on events for staff, but they don't have a lot of experience coordinating it, so sometimes it falls flat. If we want to do that, what are some tips that you have from your experience?
I have really bad OCD. So like details. Things like when I'm throwing an event that I think about is kind of the overall thing, what participants have them going in, good expectations, having like all the details ready for them. But also I think a huge thing is, what does the audience feel like? What does someone watching, how do they enter the building? What's the first 10 minutes? What do they do during the show? Are there breaks where they're like awkwardly kind of hanging out and nothing to do? How do we keep everyone involved and excited and entertaining for every party involved? And I think it's a huge thing to make a successful event. And then just prep, make lots of lists, have everything that can go wrong will absolutely 100% go wrong, if not twice. So, backups for everything, like game plans, procedures, and places, which it's a lot of work, but I mean, you gotta think about these things.
Well, it's sort of like a competitor would get ready for this competition. You gotta prep yourself for your own rush of rushers. Yes.
I mean, we both competed in the past. It's like, oh yeah, you have extra cups on your cart because I'm going to drop and break all of them. So
nice.
To hide them in the back of the machine of like, okay, that's the whoopsie supply.
I love it. So when we're looking to crush the rush in our own shops, we've talked about a bunch of things that are super important. If you could just have people remember one thing that would really be key to knocking it out of the park when it's the most critical, when there's the most eyes on your brand, is when these people are in your shop and there's a rush. What would you advise people? What is that thing?
Ooh, I think probably one of the top priorities is, please don't take yourselves too seriously and have fun with it. I think a downfall for a lot of events also is trying to incorporate too many rules at once, and it just gets way too much to handle.
Explain that one a little bit, the too many rules.
I feel like there's a lot of competitions, like every year as it goes on and on, there's another page of rules added. There's another page of like just little technicalities that, we missed it in the first time, which I think is very valuable for maybe standard or national or global competitions, where that's really valuable. And it's like, this competition can make or break someone's entire life. But if you're doing something at home, it's really like thinking about why we're there. Are you trying to make a world champion team come out of your shop in whatever state you have? Or are you trying to build the community that you have around you, of getting people into your shop, having fun, empowering your staff to just be excited to work there, or maybe even further themselves, of like, this little kind of fun, kind of kitschy competition is a gateway to, I want to be a full-time competitor at a higher level. Mm-hmm. This kind of thinking about what your entire goal for whatever competition you're doing is.
I imagine a lot of that translates over to just the normal day-to-day customers in your cafe, because I'm imagining having fun during a rush, keeping things light. I mean, obviously all shops have rules and regulations. They come in the employee manual, and there are exceptions that can be made in the midst of, what's more important, that the shot is exactly like 0.01 to what your recipe is, or that the drink goes out to a customer who's getting ready to write a bad Yelp review, like where you're taking yourself super seriously. Maybe you're just going to force the wait. But it seems like those things are just as important for the normal operation of a cafe. Yeah,
that's a tightrope. Actually, you said that, and I'm like, wait, did you already look at some of our side work challenges? Hint, hint.
Nice.
Everyone loves Yelp. Might want to start looking through that. I mean, that's such a tightrope of like, I think what you set up your shop as, or kind of the expectations you as an owner or a manager have on your staff. Like, I mean, there's so many types of cafes. The ones that are where speed is not, it's like quality, no FETCOs, everything's hand poured, everything is super individualized and intentional, which is amazing and totally has a market. There, I think you need to be pretty serious, but also you need to get it out to customers in an efficient time, so they come back and they're always returning. I mean, like your business as an owner, like you have your business plan. This is what I want. But at the end of the day, it's more tickets that you're moving, those customers that we need to turn into regulars, and really as quickly and efficiently we can get them through is really what makes or break at the end of the day. Is this shop going to be successful, or are we going to have to close after a few years? And I mean, like, you can still give the illusion of like, oh, every single cup is intentional, everyone's so focused on making it, but behind the scenes you can have those systems in place to have everything ready, make it as fast as humanly possible, and still get that person through the line.
Crush the rush.
Ta-da! Wow.
all the way back to it. Yeah. So we want to stay in touch with what's happening. I really appreciate you coming on the show and talking about this. It's hugely helpful. Because we just get lost in the sauce so much, and we need to focus in on these little parts of our daily activities. And I love that Crush the Rush is putting a spotlight on this important part. And so where can we go to keep up to date and find where Crush the Rush is coming near us?
Cool. So I think easiest place to find information is on the Marzocco.USA Instagram. You can also just type in crushtherush.com, and that will link you directly to the La Marzocco blog, and that will give you all the announcements of where we're going, when it's happening, when are signups. Just a quick lineup is Seattle's on July 15th, San Francisco is July 26th, New York City is August 9th, Chicago is August 23rd, and then our final stop is Nashville on September 6th.
Awesome. Well, we will definitely log on and follow on Instagram. Thank you so much, Josh, for talking about this and for the work you're doing with La Marzocco and Crush the Rush. And thank you for crushing it yourself. We appreciate it.
Oh, thank you, Chris. It means a lot. Anytime.
Well, I said it in the conversation. I'll say it again. I'm really thankful for a competition like this and how it does highlight the everyday skills of the barista. And when you put yourself under pressure like this in a competition, it always creates, this artificial resistance that when you get back to your own bar where there's a lot more familiarity, you find that based on all of the exercise you did through the competition, you feel like you can accomplish more. You feel this is true for other competitions as well. And anytime you put yourself under pressure like that, especially in something like Crush the Rush, you're going to go back with some real tangible skills to your own coffee bar. And the elements of the successful teams, I think that we went over. To me, the most important thing that Josh mentioned here was the idea of cleanliness, which to me is one of the most important cornerstone professional skills that you can have as a barista, because it's not just about the physical, it's about your mental space and where your head's at. And it's a catalyst for what's going to happen a few steps later. Are you working clean? Are you organized? That was a point that really resonates well with me. And I know probably for a lot of you as well. And a close second to that, not even second, probably equal, was the idea of mistake recovery. And you know as well as I do that there are so many mistakes that happen on the bar. I'm glad to say that I'm done making mistakes. I've been done with mistakes for quite a long. I'm kidding. I make mistakes like it's my job. But anyway, it's how you recover from those mistakes. It's how you pick yourself up and make it right. And grace under pressure is one of those things that you learn after years and years of just making mistakes and picking yourself back up. And I love that it was one of those things that a great team can recover from. So with all that said, there's going to be so many great lessons learned for all the teams involved in Crush the Rush. If this is coming to a city near you, make an event out of it, bringing a crew. There's no better way to really inject some excitement into your crew than supporting them being involved in a competition like this. You can find out more information by going to LaMarzoccoUSA.com. And on their blog, there's an announcement talking about Crush the Rush. I will link to this in the show notes. You can also go to Instagram, Marzocco USA, and keep up to date with the progress of the competition there. And I want to say a big thank you to Josh for joining us on the show to talk about this and all of the hard work that he and his crew have put in to make this competition possible. It's such a great asset to the coffee and barista community. Thank you for sharing with us today, Josh, and hopefully we get to see you on the road this summer. Now, if you want to reach out to me, you can do so by emailing chris@keystotheshop.com. You can send me your questions, comments, feedback about the show. I'm always wanting to make this show better for you. And by better, I mean more relevant content to your professional life in the shop. If you're a manager, an owner, a barista, the goal of Keys to the Shop is to give you keys to the shop. And that means resources, insights into how to build a great career or great coffee business. And so if you've got ideas and things that you've been kind of thinking that you might want to hear about or learn about that you haven't heard yet on Keys to the Shop, it'd be really interesting to hear from you as to what those things are. So chris@keystotheshop.com. Now, Keys to the Shop is also available for consulting and training. That means I can come to your store. We can do an assessment of your cafe's operations and standards for quality, hospitality, and systems that basically all three of those things contribute to the function of your cafe. We can talk about specific problems that you're having, troubleshoot some stuff for your business, or we can do remote coaching and consultation over the phone. All of that is available to you, and you can email me again at the same email address, chris@keystotheshop.com, and to see what that would look like for your specific situation. I love being able to help people create an amazing space that functions well and serves the needs of the people in it and the people who are served by it. So reach out. Let's have a conversation. chris@keystotheshop.com. Well, that's it for today's show. Thank you so much for joining me. And as always, I hope that this episode has truly given you keys to the shop.